Welcome to the Family Law Growth Podcast. We interview the nation's fastest growing family law firms to get insights on what is working today. We leave no stone unturned, from intake to the biggest mistakes they've made while scaling to multi-7 figures and 8 figures. I'm your host, Elliot, co-founder of Empirical 360. Let's dive into the episode. All right, so welcome to the podcast. I am joined here by Christy. Christy is an awesome attorney. She is growing one of the fastest family law firms, Z Family Law. And so she has agreed to be on the podcast here. So Christy, how about you do some introductions, the firm, you, kind of why you do what you do, and then we'll dive into the fun questions.
Sounds good. My name is Christy Zlatkus. I'm the CEO and founding attorney of Z Family Law, where we don't write endings, we create new beginnings, and we also create legacies of love. So we are in the DC area, and we do family law and estate planning.
I love it. And as you can see, Christy is very good at branding, because I've heard we don't write endings, we create new beginnings, and legacies of love. I've heard that a million times. She's very good at that. So let's dive in. And again, let's dive into the first question, right? I want to get right to the meat and potatoes, stuff that's going to help you guys, the audience, grow your family law firm. So what is your firm? What do you guys do specifically? And tell me a little bit about the setup, right? Revenue, headcount, that type of stuff.
Sure. I will tell you, I used to be really shy about sharing this information because, it's kind of weird to be like talking about high-end revenues and things like that. But I realize that when I see other law firms that are either where I want to be or where I've been, and I kind of understand where they are in the journey, it helps me learn and grow myself. So I have gotten a lot less shy about sharing that. So I started Z Family Law at the very end of 2018. And in 2018, I was one-man band, me, myself, and I. And then very, very, very quickly at the beginning of 2019, I was joined by Megan Parlett, who is not just one of my absolute best friends in the entire world. She's also my director of operations. We were a two-man band for a little bit. Every now and then we'd have some interns. We had somebody helping us a little bit with some marketing and intake. But we slowly started growing. And we ended last year, 2024, at about 2.8 million. As far as the number of people, it went from 1 to, I think our highest count at one point was 24. But we are actively, growing and moving things around and figuring that out. Now, as far as our structure is concerned, we do predominantly family law, and we also do trust and estates. I got really tired of referring out the trust and estates, which is why we brought it in-house. And also I had some family things happen that made it really close to my heart. So it's important to me that we are able to service the entire family, from family creation to family reorganization to family protection. So those are the areas that we do. As far as firm structure, at any given time, we have somewhere between 4 and 7 attorneys right now. I like to have about a paralegal to every 1 to 2 attorneys, and I like to have a legal assistant to every 1 to 2 attorneys. I also have a very robust client care team, and this is really, 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 really critical to my mission. And I know that other family law firms are going to look at me like, what is wrong with you? Why do you have that many people, on your team that are non-billable? But I think it's really important that we are assisting our clients throughout the entire journey. And part of that means helping them with anything that they need logistically. So we might help our clients find a mover if they have to move out of the marital home, or we might help them find a mortgage, broker, or even just recently, speaking of movers, I had a prenup client from like a year ago that we just called to check in on her, and she and her husband are now moving to New York, and we were able to hook her up with a mover and someone to help pack her house up that's separate from the movers. So that is really important to me. So we have, of course, our director of operations. We have a people operations coordinator, and those two are absolutely key. The people operations coordinator helps make sure our team is doing well, functions on, all the different things of what's happening in the office. Do we have enough computers? Does everybody have all the information that they need with regard to, their health insurance, their benefits, and all those fun things? And she's basically an in-house full-time recruiter, which is key when you are trying to grow a law firm, and also when you're trying to find the right people. We also have an entire client care or client engagement department, and that consists of Skylar Ellis, who oversees all of that, as well as a client engagement specialist, an intake specialist, our legal receptionist. We also have a marketing assistant and a billing clerk, all that help our clients, get to their new beginning and make sure that they have what they need in connection with the law firm.
I love it. What a great answer. So hopefully that helps paint a picture of structure. There's definitely, it seems like a lot of dedicated roles, which is nice because it's hard to do everything right as the owner. And so next question. And I think your client care team and your concierge service really helps with some of these questions coming up. But what was your very first consistent source of clients, and how did that evolve? Like, what does it look like from the beginning to now?
Sure. Referrals. That has always been kind of my biggest source of clients before we really started digitally marketing in 2020 during the pandemic. Um, I grew up and my mom taught me all the old fashioned things. I wasn't allowed to play with my birthday present until I wrote a thank you note. I wasn't, anytime I went anywhere that somebody, how many kids are taken out to dinner by like their friends' parents? My mom made me always, again, write a thank you note, make sure that we called and did those things, check in on people. I had the most amazing aunt in the entire world. And one of the coolest things, she did unfortunately pass away. She's one of the reasons why we have our trust and estate department now that where it is. But one of the coolest things was at her funeral, how many people were talking about the little notes that she sent. And I still find little note cards from her everywhere. And these things had such a big impact on me. And so they have been a large part of how I've gotten referrals. I care about people. I genuinely do. But, I was also taught good manners. So when I see on LinkedIn that one of my colleagues is giving up coffee and really struggling, I might send them some, decaf tea and be like, here, try this one. It's pretty good. And yes, that's one I've actually done. And, I call and check in on our clients. And recently I learned one of our clients was having surgery on her leg. So I sent her a card saying, hey, you've got this. And then I made sure to calendar a call 2 weeks later to see how it went. And the genuinely caring about people, that's something that you can't fake. That's something you can't systematize. I mean, you can to an extent to make sure that you have checks and balances so that you don't forget to do those things. But that was the biggest source of clients, and for us, it's still a really important part of what we do.
Nice. So how do you think through like the strategy? Of course, obviously caring is the first part, right? I can't agree more. But do you have like a strategy to nurturing that referral pipeline, or do you ask for referrals? Like what does drumming up referrals look like to you? Because you guys get a ton of them. So what is that like tactic, strategy, process look like?
Sure. So I actually did a referral course by Stacy Randall. I can send it to you sometime. And her philosophy is to not actually ask for referrals. I'm also part of a networking group called Cadre DC, which was founded based on the unnetworking principle done by Derek Coburn. And in both of those, the idea, anybody can go out there hat in hand and be like, can I have a referral? 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 And that's great. And you certainly want to use that word. Referral is not a dirty word by any stretch of the imagination. But like any relationship, when you go in and you're asking for something instead of offering something, people are just turned off. So if I go up to you, Elliot, I'm like, hey, Elliot, can you refer me a family law case? Can you refer me this? I need this. I need this. I need this. You're not going to want to spend a lot of time around me. Mm-hmm. But instead, if I approach our relationship and go, hey, Elliot, how are you? Who are you? I know you like Italian food. Tell me more about that. Tell me more about how you would spend, $10 million in a day without going over a penny. Tell me, if you had, or was it 1 million? Tell me if you, had this, what would you do? And tell me about your business. What are your goals? Where do you want to be in 3 years? How can I support that? All of a sudden, you're a lot more interested in me. And I said nothing about me.
Yep.
And so that for me is how I've always tried to approach it. And is it a strategy? Yes. But I try to go at it truly with a big heart of how can I help you? How can I help other, and I'm a little bit partial to female entrepreneurs in this particular space because I do think it can be an extra challenge. Not that it's not a challenge for anybody. But what I want to know is how I can support others, because what you put out in the world will come back to you, whether it's good or bad that you put out in the world.
I love it. And I also love what you said earlier. So obviously you care, but have a system for checks and balances of like calendaring in a check-in and stuff like that. And so, because the day gets ahead of you and then all of a sudden you stop asking people. So that I like that. So it's not like an insane, like evil plan. You actually just legitimately care and you calendar time in to care. It sounds like. I love that. So Z Family has, and you can go check them out. They have a really, really good looking brand, a very strong brand. Like Christy has done an amazing job dialing in why they're different, what they do, like how they sound. They do a really good job. What do you think, like, what role does that brand and your reputation play in getting new clients and honestly being able to sell higher end clients as well. What does that look like for you? Like, how have you thought through that?
Sure. But before I forget, I do want to do a major shout out to both Nickel Bronx and Skylar, who created our brand and were so intense about figuring out what it is that I wanted to say and translating it. It's not easy to do. You know, coming up with these things and copywriting these things, like I can have the idea in here, but taking it from out here and out there is really, really hard. So,
Oh yeah.
you know, how does it affect? I can tell you how it affects, but one of the things that I want to tell anybody who's listening to this is invest in somebody. And it doesn't, you know, there are a lot of amazing people out there, but who will help you translate that and put that brand out there. Brand consistency, I think, is really important. Before we really did a brand consistency, I used to joke that our branding was kind of like the 1998 Ford Taurus with like 3 different colors, doors, and like missing handles and things. It doesn't look pretty. And when it doesn't look pretty, you look like the legal work you do is a mess. Whether you can be the best attorney in the world. I mean, you can be top notch, the most brilliant legal mind that has ever walked the face of the earth. But if your website looks like crap, if it doesn't match what you're saying, and what I mean by that is if your website is all like, we fight for you, we're going to be aggressive in court and blah, 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 blah. And then they meet you and they're like, we'd love to settle your case. We think settling it's a mismatch. And so really understanding what you want to bring to the table when it comes to legal services and making sure that your brand says that makes it so much easier to sell. And our branding, I mean, it starts from not just our website and our social media that you guys are amazing. Like you picked up on our brand immediately about the We Create New Beginnings. And we want to help people, you know, get to that new beginning. It's even when you call our law firm, we answer the phone, Z Family Law, We Create New Beginnings. How may I help you? Because I want that to last through every interaction, from beginning to end, from soup to nuts. How do I think that helps us sell? I think it helps us sell because people know what they're buying. One of the few things that drives me crazy with my team, and I have the best team. There's nobody I don't love on my team, but you know, one of the things that drives me crazy is if anybody at any point goes against kind of that like new beginning thing. They're like, "Oh, you're divorced. That's so horrible. It's going to be rough. It's going to be this. It's going to be about like, no, stop it." Like that's not here who we are. That's not here what we're selling. And there's nothing wrong with that approach, but that's not ours. So everything from how we provide legal services to all of that, it's, I think, key. I don't know. If I walked into a Toyota dealership and I was walking away with like a Honda, like they're both great, but that's not what I came for.
Yep. And what's funny is you have such a knack for turning, like when we ask Christy questions for video content and we ask her something about something terrible, she has a knack for turning it into a positive and a new beginning. And this is actually a good thing in the long term. And so, yeah, it definitely really, really helps. And hopefully that, you know, and speak if you want to this, like, does it attract clients who stay focused on the future rather than the message? Okay. So you're kind of creating your best clients also by starting them off with this.
Absolutely. And not only are we creating them and attracting them, because I do believe in the law of attraction. I believe that you put out what you want back. And it's not perfect, but your message resonates with the right people, right? And not everybody's going to like me, and not everybody's going to want to work with me or my team, and not everybody's going to want a new beginning. They want to get stuck in the mess of today, and that's okay. But yeah, it does help with the attracting it.
Yeah. And for sure, when you go to her site, if you do after this episode, you'll see it right off the bat. Like, oh, all right, I see what you're talking about. And so as far as like your mindset around growth, how was that when you first started? How is that now? Like, were you much more lawyer back then? And now you're like, I want to grow, like business minded. Like, what did that evolution look like?
So I think I always had a little bit of both. I always wanted to start my own law firm. And in my previous law firm, I was very, very fortunate because they let me kind of play around with certain things, not everything, but they let me help out with some of the marketing and help out with some of the things. And I've always just been fascinated by that part. I think they're just two different parts of me. I call it like the lawyer brain and the entrepreneur brain. And they're very, very different because one is very like, let's try all the new things and fail our way forward. That's the entrepreneur. And then the lawyer is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's look at liability. Let's and examine this from every angle. Let's protect ourselves. And because it takes two different sides of your brain, you really do have to look at them and train them differently. And I do have to be in different mindsets for each one. So how did mindset affect me at the beginning? I'll be honest with you. When I started my law firm, I thought that I was going to be practicing law and that this whole running a business thing would maybe take like 5 hours of my week. Oops.
Yeah.
Oops. I also thought growing was going to be a lot slower than it was. I honestly thought it would be me and Megan, me who was serving it, as my legal assistant and assistant in general, probably for like a good 3 years before I'd be really ready to hire an associate. And that's just not how it went. And not to say that growth has been linear. It hasn't been. We've had years where we've doubled, and we have years that we've, just inched out, a 20% growth or something like that. And there have been years where, expenses got a lot higher than we anticipated, either due to the economy or other factors, and then other ones where it's not. So mindset for me is always, how can we look at whatever the situation is in front of us and learn from it and grow from it? How can we fail our way forward? I accept mistakes. We literally had a fuck up log, and we still keep a version of it, but it's just not written anymore since we have lots of different virtual teammates. We own our mistakes. And that is one of the ways that I truly believe that we grow. And Megan and I, we starts at the top. I own my mistakes. I make mistakes and I own them in front of my whole team. I'm like, yep, I screwed this up today, because I want them to know that they can. Because if everybody's so afraid of making a mistake, nobody's going to find their way forward, and nobody's going to innovate. Nobody's going to come up with new things, and everything's not going to get better. The other big piece to, I guess, my mindset and our growth is, and this one's relatively new for me, is realizing that I can't do it all myself, even if I want to. And I want to do every job in this law firm, and I want to oversee every job in this law firm. And I can't. There are literally not enough hours in the day, and that will keep me stuck. And that will keep me a bottleneck to the growth that I want. And so those are kind of the things that I keep in mind. How can I find the positive to this thing, fail my way forward? How can I make it a comfortable place for people to make mistakes? And truly, how can I get out of the way, hire people smarter than me, and get the hell out of their way?
Yeah, I like that because, right, it's what I see a lot is, and maybe you can talk to this, is the lawyers who always get dragged back into legal production. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But in the beginning, how did you get out of that? Like, okay, I don't need to, like, I am not the only one that can go to trial, or I'm not the only one that has to do production. Like, what was the turning point for you there? Like, was it a slow ease out? Was it a hard, I'm not taking any more cases? And then, like, how do you reconcile that? Because I find a lot of people have a hard time with that.
Sure. Life shoved me out of it, to be honest with you. I was given a big shove. So I did reduce my caseload. And right now I do still take cases, but I keep a very limited caseload. I take no more than 5 cases personally. And I have made that decision because I still love being a lawyer. Like I missed that when I was 100% out of legal production. So for me, this allows me to use that other side of my brain, and also to make sure that I don't lose touch with how to do these amazing cases and how to help these clients and all those things. And then I run the business on the other side. So I was burning the candle at both ends. I was trying to do both. And then in 2023, my mom got very sick and then passed away. And then my aunt got very sick and passed away. And I was going back and forth constantly to Pennsylvania, where they were, and trying to be everywhere all at once. I literally could not. So that was the time when we promoted our amazing managing attorney, Nick Andrews, to oversee legal production. My cases were taken over by someone else, and I solely focused on running the firm. And for a while, it was really great, and it still is really great. Like, running the firm is my biggest passion, growing it and doing all of those things. But like I said, it's fun for me to also be able to be the lawyer that I went to school with and be trained. So if there was any advice I would say to other lawyers, if you can't get out of legal production, because I could be out of legal production if I needed to be, if I wanted to go away or I wanted to do something. If you can't, then you're not creating something bigger than yourself. And you need to look at your systems. You need to look at your people. You need to look at your training. Because I personally, Christy Zlatkus, I can only help X number of clients in the way that I want to. I can only serve X number of clients to focus on their new beginning, to focus on their mindset and their divorce, and to all those things. But Christy plus another attorney, and Christy plus another attorney, and Christy plus another attorney. And then you add in the legal assistant, paralegal, stuff like that, that are all trained in the same way, that are all having the ability to help with the new beginnings. Now we can help 5 times as many people.
I like it.
And so that for me is kind of what helps me remember that.
So it's interesting. You were, like you said, shoved out. And so do you think that had you not had that, like, personal circumstance you would have stayed in longer, and maybe it would have been a false belief that like you can't get out, or like for other people who are not having that circumstance, like you got to get out of this thing, what could be an unlock for them? Is it like a false belief, like I have to do everything myself, or is it like, what do you think would keep them stuck if they didn't have crazy circumstances like you did?
Sure. I had been toying with it for a while and I was really struggling with it. So I completely understand and empathize exactly where it is. And what I just said to you is really the mindset shift that I needed. I mean, yes, life circumstances shoved me out, but it already confirmed it confirmed for me what I had already been thinking, which was if my goal is to help change the narrative around divorce so that people are doing it this way, for as many families as I can, because I believe, like down to my toes, that it impacts how children experience divorce and how children experience their future relationships and their families. Like the impact that we have as family law attorneys can literally last for generations. But when I realize my impact as an individual versus my impact as a leader, then you are doing a disservice to stay in legal production.
Nice. I love that. That is actually a very mission driven answer, right? Not so much like I want to get the heck out of court and I'm done with these people. It's like I want to help more people. All right, so I love
No.
it. All right, so next question is,
Mhm.
what was the best investment you made, and or like key hire that you think was like, this is what allowed me to really gain some traction and start moving forward? And if there's a couple of those, maybe list out like the top 2 to 3.
There are a few. So my director of operations, some people call them a legal administrator or COO or things like that, I think is critical. If you do not have that second in command, I don't know how you could do it without them. Now I was really lucky. I've had Megan almost from day one. And Z Family Law is our venture. And we've worked with different business coaches. And I remember one of them sitting us down and being like, Megan is not trained in this. And so Megan can. Thank you. And find your second in command, the person that you can trust with everything from your bank account numbers to your social security numbers to like all those different things. Because if they're doing their job to help you with the tax strategy and this and that, like they're going to have access to all that stuff and they're going to need to. And so it needs to be the person that you trust. And also, if you're an entrepreneur like me, you're probably, not definitely, but probably a visionary. And I really do believe in the visionary implementer dynamic. And this is going to come into play with some of my other key hires because I am a visionary to the nth degree. People joke that I live in Christy world. And I heard that one recently and I was like, Christy world. They're like, yeah, it's Delulu. Like you just see everything positively. And you just see you see what's going to happen. And you see this and this, but like you live in Christy world. The rest of us have to catch up. You live up here. And I'm like, cool. But that means that someone has to help everybody catch up. And so my biggest key hire was the implementer, the person when I go, we're going to go climb Mount Everest, goes, okay, how are we going to do that? Here's our training schedule. Here's our map. Here's, what we're going to pack. Here's all the different things that we're going to do. Someone has to figure out the how. And I'm good with the big plan, but the detail things is not my strength. The person that sits down and plots out every little step of the way, the person that creates the spreadsheet, I love reading the spreadsheet, but the person that inputs it at, like, that's not me. And so I needed the other side to that coin. We say with me and Megan, like I'm the gas and she's the brake. And I truly think that is a large part of our magic. And then I realized that we needed to multiply Megan, because what's fun about being the visionary is I have lots of ideas in lots of different places. But Megan doesn't have the bandwidth to plot out my trip to, Mount Everest. And then also I want to go check out the jungle. And then while I'm at it, I want to go on a ski vacation. And then later I want to go to the beach. Like I need someone planning each of those trips. And when you put that in the business context, I need someone who's an implementer in marketing. I need someone who is an implementer in making sure overseeing our policies and procedures for HR. I need someone who's going to do the same thing for legal production, because I know what I want legal production to do. I know what I want their policies and procedures to do, but I don't have the bandwidth, inclination, or even real good, strong skill set to sit there and make a template and then another template and then another template. I want to edit them and have my hands in all the pies, and I want to have like the ideas, but I need someone who's going to sit there and do the detail work. And so for that, my next key hires were someone who oversees all the client engagement stuff and all the marketing stuff. Another key hire was that managing attorney because I trust him implicitly. I know not a single case of ours is going to miss something. We're not going to miss deadlines. We don't miss deadlines. We don't miss things, to do because I have someone watching over all of those strategies and making sure things happen. Same thing with our case manager, who's very detailed. She's not going to let anything slip through the cracks, and it's a double, triple check and make sure that the training is really well done. So I have a phenomenal leadership team. And when we, started the trust and estates, I hired an attorney to oversee the expansion of that. So I think it's critical to hire those detail people, especially if you are like me and you are a visionary and you are a dreamer. You provide the energy and the sparkle, but someone else has to.
What about as far as like coaching out there? What was a key thing you attended or like group you've been a part of? Anything that you can recommend to attorneys who are not getting exposed to different business concepts? What about that?
You need coaching. I don't care who you are. You need coaching. I will never be without coaching of probably multiple kinds. As our budget grows and for things like that, I know it's going to be really critical for me to have others. My coach has like 10 coaches. He has like a mindset coach, and he has a physical fitness coach, and he has a business coach, and he has so. And I'm not talking like the snake oil salesman on the internet. You got to be really careful. You want I will not work with a coach who hasn't done the thing I want to do. So if you haven't done the thing I want to do, if you tell me I'm a business coach and I can help grow you to 8 figures, you better have done
I love that. I'm a huge believer.
You better have done that. Don't tell me I've helped other people do that. I've helped other people grow an 8-figure firm. Cool. Have you done it? So I have worked with different coaching programs. I'm not shy about who I've worked with, but I do want to focus on my current coach because he is just amazing, and that's Louis Scott with 8-Figure Firm. He is just so good at what he does, and that is who we are currently coaching with. And he has been insanely helpful. We are in, I call this like the bad haircut phase of growth, of law firm growth. I coined it for him, but he's, I think, co-signed this one. So somewhere between about 0 and 3 million it can be a pretty smooth sailing. And then 3 to 8 can be really, really, really rough. I have been told this by so many different people. So I call that the bad haircut phase. It's the phase where your policies and procedures that got you to about 3 million are crap. And just to give you an example of that, we are in the process of updating our policies and procedures. Our last one from 2022 was 60 pages. And I was really freaking proud of that. Like, we had a policy and procedure, and that wasn't our employee handbook, but like we had policies and procedures that were 60 pages. It's all written out and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, our new one is 9 volumes. 9 volumes. Dang. With each one having different things. It's in a online program with Waybook. It links to different videos and different things because when you grow, you need to make sure that everybody knows where everything is and what's going on. And so during the bad haircut phase, you're building out the new policies and procedures. You're hiring and training mid-level managers in a different way. You are, your marketing has to change. Like, referrals can only get you so far. And, not a secret, we work with your team, and your team also helps us with some sales coaching and other things there. And that has been absolutely phenomenal. Because it's really important that you know what the heck you're doing in all of those things. So yeah, we're in the bad haircut phase.
Yeah, no, Luis is going to be on this at some point too. So yeah, I'm glad you shouted him out. And there are other coaching programs, whether we name them or not here. They're all
phenomenal ones.
Pretty useful at some point. But I do agree heavily on what you said there of make sure the person you're taking advice from has kind of done the thing. So before I insert my opinions too much here, what is something that you wish you had done way sooner in your growth journey? Like, what was something like, dang, if I had only done this at this time, like what would that thing be?
Holding people accountable.
Ooh, tell me more.
I am not a micromanager. I really struggle with telling adults what to do. I want adults to be adults. I want to say, here's the target, and them to say, okay, I'm going to go hit it. And not to say to me, well, can I hit it? I'm going to use a Luis example. Luis was telling me recently about someone that he asked to do an assignment by Friday. And the person said, oh, well, I have this meeting. Can I do it on Monday? And Luis told me he responded with one word, no.
That's hilarious.
No.
All right.
Because when we have a target, we hit a target. If we have to work an hour later, if we have to move our dinner, if we have to whatever, we hit our target. And earlier in my career, I was so afraid of either losing people or making people mad, or I wanted more than anything, and still do, to have a place where people want to work and people want to be, and people want to visit, and people want to hang out. And culture is so critically important to me. But the piece of my culture that I got wrong, and I'm saying this out there, like, I got it wrong and we are fixing it and have been fixing it, is yes, we want to be a nice place to work, but also we work hard. And if you don't hit the target, you don't get to stay on the team. And sports teams get this. I learned a lot about this watching it during football season. If you don't hit your stats, you're out. And it was a really hard thing for me to accept, to be like, you gotta hold people to the target, because when you don't, they don't hold themselves to the target. And I'm not just talking billable hours. That's a law firm. Like, that's an easy cop out. Like, oh, it's a billable hours target. They have to hit the billable hours target. And ours is, we're pretty transparent about it. Ours is 1560 for attorneys. And, we won 110 for paralegals each month, 130 for attorneys each month. It's not crazy high, but I do expect you to hit it. Mm-hmm. And with marketing, I do expect our marketing assistant to put out a certain number of pieces of content. I do expect our salespeople to have a specific close rate, or if they don't have the close rate, I expect them to at least show that they have done a specific amount of follow-ups and a specific amount of, reach backs out and the things that I asked them to do to hit that target, because that is 100% within their control. I expect our bills to go out on time. I expect them to be polished. I expect them to be without mistakes. I expect our legal, product to be good. And where I messed up in the first probably few years of hiring team members is when people didn't hit it, but they came close. I'm like, well, you tried, so we're just going to try harder next time. I'm going to coach you up to it. My gosh, Elliot, at one point, I literally came in here dressed up like a freaking disco ball. I am not joking. Like, I was like, we're going to challenge. We're going to do this challenge. We're going to make it happen. And I tried the jumping up and down and encouraging. I tried, bringing in little gifts or gift cards or, all that kind of stuff. And it lasted so long as I kept the high energy up, but that's not real life. That's not something that is sustainable. And so now we have a very clear accountability policy. Here are your KPIs. You hit them. You don't hit them, you don't get to stay. Yep. And I know that sounds harsh as hell, but you know what? Our clients are better served. The team members that are here who are hitting their targets are not looking at the person next to them going, I busted my ass to hit mine. Why are they not hitting theirs?
Yep. That's huge, honestly.
It was hard. It is hard. It is a hard culture shift, but we're better for it. We're stronger for it. And our team.
Do you find that, like, it's kind of obvious at that point then they have a KPI, they're not hitting it, and they see themselves out? Or is it like a reminder, okay, see ya? Like tactically, what does it look like when?
Honestly, I have not had to fire anybody for not hitting their target. They have made this decision themselves.
Okay. So that's very helpful then, right? They see it. It's obvious. All right. I'm not thriving here. I'm going to leave, which I guess makes that even easier.
And we do coaching. We do fair warning. Every member of my leadership, including me, we have office hours. We have, ways that they can get feedback. They can request one-on-ones. They can request additional coaching or training or things like that. And we want amazing people on our team and amazing people to stay. And if it's just something that they need a resource on, we're going to provide that resource to the best of our ability.
Okay. That helps.
But at the end of the day,
like you missed a KPI. There's the door, right? It's more so, okay, all right. I just wanted the people to know, like, what does that look like tactically? Because everybody says it, but tactically that conversation looks like, hey, there's coaching, or hey, you're not hitting your numbers. What can we do to support you? And then if that's not working, and then it's, okay, see ya. And
it's methodical, predictable, and a written policy. So everybody knows where it is, how to find it, what's going on. We do reporting on a weekly basis. And it's not us reporting to our team how they've done on their KPIs. They have to report to us on a weekly basis how they've done it. We use a performance platform called 15.5. People tell us what they've done. We review, we give feedback, and that's ways that they can ask for help as well. Nobody is an island here.
That's a big one, that little detail, that nugget there of them bringing their numbers to you versus you having to do all of it. Cause then you're already busy enough, right? Like, how are you going to get numbers on 24 people or whatever? They have to come to you with it. I guess, or they submit it to a platform and then you review
They
it.
submit it to a platform and then we see it there. But and by the way, on the platform, just so you know, the way we have ours structured, not only do they have to report to it, but then we say, did you hit your target this week or not? Yes or no. If not, why not? And if not, what support do you need to be able to do it next week?
Love it.
And sometimes it's just I was sick this week. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like my dog needed to go to the, doctor this week. Okay.
Yeah.
But then aggregately, like, what's your plan? How are we going to fix it?
Yeah.
What's your plan to catch up? Tell me your plan and tell me what resources and help you need.
I love that. So let's transition more into now acquisition side of things, right? So what would you say from an acquisition standpoint is your biggest struggle right now? What are you having the hardest time with?
Well, I'm certainly not trying to cast blame on anything because I don't believe in that, but I do believe in looking at the reality of the situation. I do think one of the struggles right now is the economy and the fact that we are close to the DC area where a lot of people are losing their jobs. If they're not losing their jobs, their spouses or their person paying their child support or somebody else is losing their jobs. It's just, I cannot tell you how many, I don't know anybody who doesn't know at least 5 to 10 people in their personal orbit who is currently unemployed as a result of what's going on in DC. So I think for my firm specifically, that is our big challenge right now. Now, outside of that, because I can't control that, what are the things that I can control that I think are our biggest challenge? Certainly always making sure that our follow-ups are happening. We have an awesome client engagement specialist and intake specialist, and they don't mess around with that. I mean, of course, we are very compliant with the local, attorney advertising rules and making sure that we're not, breaking anything that we need to do. We're always super, super, super cautious about that. But following up in family law, I cannot tell you how critical that is. I also can't tell you how many clients have hired me 6 months later. And they'll say things like, I was too embarrassed to reach out to you because I didn't hire you at first, but because you kept reaching out to me, I knew it would be okay. Interesting.
That's interesting.
And it makes me wonder, before we did that kind of reach out, how many clients did we lose because they were too embarrassed?
Mm-hmm.
So the reach out, I think, is critical. And we're trying to implement more and more of that. We do texting, emailing, checking in. We work very hard on reaching people. And by the way, it really does work. One of the emails that we like to rotate in is one that goes out on Monday morning. And it's not every Monday, of course, that would be insane, but try it out every now and then. But it's Monday morning, fresh start. Are you ready for your fresh start?
Nice. That's cool.
You got to hit people when they're in their moment to take action. And if you're right in front of them at their moment to take action, you're going to have more success with sales. The other thing is to keep growing your sales experience. I know that we have gotten some fantastic coaching from you and from your team. And I think that's really important because not every sale is the same. You can't do the same pitch and sell to everybody. I know some salespeople say you can. I don't buy that for a second. I just don't. And so learning different techniques and kind of seeing the person that's in front of you is a big thing. And then the other big thing is what I call the Disney experience. It is something that I make my entire team do, not just my sales team, but I think it's especially important in sales. We do gather some information. In advance. And of course, we have information on our clients. And if you're a client of Z Family Law and you call our receptionist, she has the critical information right there when you call. And she's going to ask you, hey, how are Sarah and James, your kids? How are they doing today? Did they go to school today? Are they excited about their 3-day weekend? And my sales team does the same thing. Any information that we have in HubSpot, how's, you're gonna laugh. We recently got a cat custody case. Every time that person calls, we're asking about that cat. How's cat?
That's it. Yeah.
How's cat doing? I'm not going to say the name of the cat just for confidentiality, but the details matter because they're not just case number A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They are, insert cat's name's mom, or they are, dad of Sarah and James. And it not only helps remind people why they're here, it's also us remembering that they're not a file, they're a family.
I love that. Yeah, the Disney experience I like naming it that too, because if you've been to Disney, you know exactly what we're talking about, right? So can you describe to me, what does your sales process look like? So a phone call comes in or a form, like what's the CRM you use, who does the intake, who does the sales, like what does that entire life cycle look like?
Sure. So we use HubSpot for all our marketing, and we are just transitioning all of our sales into there. We just did that last month. We're super excited about that because now we can see all the different touches that they have. So if they call or they send it in a form, the first person they're going to talk to is our intake specialist, who is going to get them scheduled on the calendar for our client engagement specialist. Our client engagement specialist, his job is he's a non-attorney, and by the way, we are so clear with everybody, he is not an attorney. We put it in the script, we put it in the emails, we put it in the text messages. But he meets with them first because thanks to you guys, we have a lot of leads. He meets probably with somewhere between 4 and like 6 to 7, sometimes people a day. And he'll meet with people on evenings and weekends and all of those things. That's why we have to get, working on expanding those. But when your marketing team is crushing it, like you guys are crushing it for us, that's a lot of appointments, and I can't take my attorneys away for that much time. So our client engagement specialist is going to meet with them first. And the purpose of that is a free case evaluation. And what the case evaluation is, it's not evaluating the merits of the case. It's evaluating whether or not we can help this person. Are they in our jurisdiction? Is it a matter type that we handle? Are our attorneys available on the court dates? All of those things. Like he's able to screen all those things out because he has a checklist. And if it's not someone we can help, he makes sure to get them a good referral, because we're not just going to, if you contact our law firm, you're not going to walk away empty-handed. That's also one of my values. You're going to get a personalized introduction to whoever it is that can possibly help you. And sometimes that might be the Bar Association if we truly don't have anybody else, but we're going to at least point you in the right direction. And we're going to make sure that it's not just, call this number. It's an email, it's an action item, it's a resource, something like that. And so once he meets with them, if they're ready to sign on the dotted line, if it's, I need a prenup, we can help with prenups. Let's talk about what a prenup would mean for you. Let's talk about, what is it trying to accomplish for you? What does it look like, 3 years down the road in your marriage that you have this prenup? How is that affecting you? Separate from prenup, same thing with a divorce. What is it that you're looking for 3 years down the road? What kind of custody do you want? All of those things, and trying to think through all this future. And if at that point they are ready to sign on the dotted line, and I would say a lot are, he can go ahead and get them an engagement agreement, get their, and we call it an initial deposit. Some people call it a retainer, and then do the introduction to the legal team. If it is an appeal, if it is a domestic violence case, if it is something where an attorney needs to do any kind of legal analysis, he sets it up for an attorney consult. We do charge for attorney consults. They're $450 flat fee for an hour with an attorney. And then he will get the notes from his case evaluation to the attorney in advance. So the attorney can come and talk through with them like what a plan would look like if they have a viable case and all of those things. We don't, however, charge attorney consults for domestic violence, but that's just a firm philosophy. We feel very strongly about helping with those cases because we think that we can provide value in those instances, even if they don't hire us. But even after the attorney consult, it's the client engagement specialist's job to make sure the engagement agreement is signed, the credit card authorization's on file, the initial deposit is made, and he does a warm handoff to the legal team. But that's not it. And it's interesting because I'm about to train 2 of our new team members on this process right after this call. But that's just the start of our warm up, because at that point we do client onboarding. And they're going to get 5 different emails from us over the course of about a week to a week and a half, depending on what time that, they hired us. And one's going to be a welcome email with a video for me. Hey, welcome to Z Family Law. We're so excited. Like, this is my personal story. This is why we started it. All of those things. Another one's going to be on like, hey, your next step is going to be your legal strategy meeting. You're going to meet with your attorney. You're going to meet with your paralegal, and you're going to sit down and you're going to talk through everything from what you want your life to look like 3 years from now to, what you want to happen in your case, what custody you want to happen, what you want to happen with your money, and all those different things. And we're going to make a plan. Another one's going to be about working with your legal team, what the billing looks like. And so you can't stop wooing somebody once they signed. I say it's like proposing to somebody and they say yes to the engagement and then you ghost them. Like, you just can't do that.
That's a great example.
Well, well, come on, I'm a divorce attorney. How many people do you hear? They're like, oh, I just got engaged. It's so great. And then they stop dating because they're just busy planning the wedding and all business. You can't be busy planning the case and all business, just must do all these different things. You also have to keep the relationship building going. And then we have our intake specialist and our client engagement specialist do check-in calls. They check in like, how's it going? How's it going with your legal team? Do you need any non-legal resources? Do you need that mover? Do you need a dog walker? Do you need any of those things? And it goes all the way through representation. And then at the end, we're doing check-in calls. How did it go? And at this point, of course, at the end of representation, we're asking for a Google review. And at that point, we are asking for referrals and saying, hey, if you know anyone else that we can help that's like you, we want to help more families like you. How can we help find more families like you? And then we never say goodbye. I mean, unless someone tells us to, which very rarely happens. Like in all my years of practicing, I think like less than 5 people have ever said, like, please stop contacting me after the representation is over. Most love hearing from us, but we'll reach out every about 3 to 6 months and just be, hey, what's going on? How's your family? What can we do to help you? Happy birthday. Happy anniversary of your divorce. By the way, have you done your estate plan? Because if not, it's really time.
Nice. So you have what I would say you maintain that Disney process all the way through, which is why they get so many referrals. So let me back up for a second. There are a couple of questions, right? You have a non-attorney salesperson sell the divorce. How do you avoid the, I want to work with Christy? Like, I only want to work with Christy. She's on the website. She's in the videos. I want to work with her. What do they say?
So he's very well versed in making sure people know I only have 5 slots. And we do talk about things like I am in our case strategy meetings. Like we have once a week pod meetings and once a week team meetings. Like I'm there. We work as a team. All of us work as a team. But there's also a cost differential. I'm the most expensive attorney in our firm. And that is, you know, getting to work with me is a premium. And so being able to get the same service and the same values and the same training and all that kind of stuff with one of our other team members is something that, you know, is a good way to sell it. Another thing that a tool that he has at his disposal is not an attorney consult, but a 15-minute introductory call with the attorney that the managing attorney would have signed them to. So you can have 15 minutes to ask that attorney, like any questions about them, things like that. We also are very careful with the bios on our website and things like that. They don't read like a resume. Very intentionally, they don't read like a resume. They read like people, because I believe that people hire people. They don't hire a resume. And so we'll send them like, hey, here's a link to more about them so that you can get to know them and see that they're a fantastic match. And also, I handpicked every single member of our team. Like, they're not getting picked for our team or staying on our team unless there's someone who is practicing according to my values. Nice.
Okay. So you have a few different tools there. You can work with Christy. She's the most expensive. You can get introduced to your managing attorney if you want. And then do you still get people that are like, I only want to work with Christy, or do you just find that it's like not really that big of a deal and it's kind of just a mental block for people?
I find that it's not as big of a deal as you would think. There are, of course, exceptions, but it's not as big of a deal as you would think. I used to be really worried about that. And I think I worried more than I actually did it. The other thing is, even though, yes, it's my face everywhere, we also try very hard to talk about the team approach. We never talk about Christy. We talk about the Z Family Law team. For short, we call it Team ZFL. You're hiring a legal team. You're not hiring a lawyer. And all the reasons why that's in your benefit.
Love it.
Or to your benefit.
Yep. So last question is, if you were stuck at $1 million, 500,000, right? You were kind of getting to the point where you're like, all right, I really want to start growing. What's the one piece of advice you would give somebody in that seat?
At that range?
Let's say $1 million. Let's say $1 million and they just can't grow. Yeah,
they
just can't grow.
At $1 million, you need to get out of legal production. Maybe not 100% yet. I didn't at $1 million get at 100%, but you need to be spending your time working on your business or you're not going to grow. You need to be spending your time creating your systems, developing your people, and multiplying yourself by doing so. That is where I think people get stuck there. That's just what I've seen. The people who get stuck at $1 million are the ones that are doing 40 plus hours of legal production and then running the business on the side.
Super helpful. So if people want to connect with you, Christy, I know you have a good personal brand. You're posting a lot and she does a lot of cool stuff, a lot of good content. Where could they find you? What's the best place for them to find you?
Instagram, Facebook are probably the two that I post on the absolute most. I do have TikTok. We just don't post on there as much after some of the weird stuff that's been going down on it. But those are the two, best places to find me. I'm also on Reddit. I know that that's kind of like a weird one, but there's so many cool like things to post on there. And I am on Reddit as myself. You can actually find me. But people ask questions and you can provide value. You don't provide legal advice on the internet, but you can provide a lot of value. So those are some good places to find me. Certainly check out my website. But yeah, I always love to connect with other family law attorneys and other entrepreneurs because I want to learn from you.
Amazing. Well, Christy, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for having me.